This week's Brew the Coaches question comes from Sam Davis. I'm 43 and only started running longer races a year ago after a bad horse riding accident meant I had to give up riding. I got a charity place in the 2024 London Marathon, which I ran in 5 hours and was very happy with. Also, just to mention, I have psoriatic arthritis and fibromyalgia. Is that correct, Rebecca? Have I...
Psoriatic. Yeah, psoriatic arthritis, yeah.
Which I take regular medication and injections for. The only real impact on running is I need to listen to my body for recovery time after long runs and if my body is having a flare-up. I'm fortunate enough to be travelling to Africa for most of September and October. Fabulous, but running won't be on the cards much, if at all. We are travelling in a group in our 4x4. Oh, wow, that sounds sensational. I've already packed some small weights and resistance bands so I can create some sort of workout, which I will need to do regularly for the sake of my back and body generally. I have no events booked in currently until May 2025, which is the lap. I'm considering adding Dartmoor in a day in February with options of either 30 or 50k. Am I being too optimistic to think I could fit enough in again in the 4 months to complete either distance? Not competitively. Where would I find training plans? Is there realistically anything I can do whilst traveling to help my return to running? Would you recommend I get a coach that could help me with running, with a running plan and a strength and conditioning plan that would take into consideration my autoimmune disease? Apologies, Sam, we got to this late. I know you will be midway through your Africa adventure, but hopefully, yeah, this would be a question and hopefully an answer for anybody who's got a big disruption to their normal routine. I don't know Sam's history and level of fitness. We've got a little indicator with the 5-hour London Marathon. Personally, I would think, yeah, have a blast and worry about it when you get back to the UK. But yeah, Rebecca, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that will be my attitude. I think this sounds like an amazing trip. And I think what you'll derive from being in that environment and the sort of mental well-being and all of those sorts of things which will come from hopefully such an amazing trip, I think I would be prepared to accept that the rest of the training will take a step back during that period because you're doing something so amazing in place of that. It's great that you've had some thought about what you can do and what you can pack in your suitcase, and certainly there's absolutely lots you can do with small weights and TheraBand work. There's lots of S&C that you can do to keep things ticking over, and I think you're already doing absolutely everything you can to keep yourself healthy, despite having two, persistent long-term conditions. And I think it's great that you already take that into account. You train according to the feedback your body gives you regarding those conditions, and you tailor it according to where you are on any particular day or week with flare-ups and things. So I think it's amazing that you're able to do everything that you can do already, and yet you still want to sort of improve on that. So absolutely, understandably, you're going to want to think what's the next step, in getting a coach sort of for all runners really is thinking about having coaching. And I think certainly a coach can help with that formulation of strength and conditioning plans, how that fits in with the rest of the running, how you manage that load. Sometimes I think it would be difficult to find someone who's got a real in-depth knowledge of the conditions that you have. But I think the principles of how we tailor training and load are similar across everybody, whether they have a condition or not. And you've got the knowledge of your condition. You're the expert in that condition. So working with a coach with your own knowledge and their knowledge, I would think would undoubtedly improve and help you plan for any future events. Maybe the event in February you might think is a little bit soon if you do genuinely have 6-8 weeks off most things whilst you're enjoying your fabulous trip, but I think it still gives you enough time when you're back to sort of increase that training load again, and having some oversight to how you make that return to make it as safe as possible and as effective as possible to prevent injury and sort of maximise your performance and enjoyment of those events. I think having a coach through that phase would be a good idea.
Yeah, if you've got the resources, then 100%. Yeah, I would reach out. I would look for a coach. But yeah, like you said, how do you find a coach that's got all three strings to their board? Trish, yeah, what do you think?
Generally, as a coach, most coaches will have some athletes with some aspect that they need to take into consideration. So I've got a couple of athletes who there are aspects of in regards to their health that we have to take into consideration. You know, I'm not a doctor and I'm not an expert in those fields, and I rely 100% on feedback from my athletes for them to be actively engaged with the relevant professionals. So that might be a doctor or a physio, for example. And that's really crucial. You know, you don't want to be taking advice of someone who as a coach is telling you stuff that they're not qualified for. We've all got experience and we can tell and share that experience, but ultimately you need to get that really important stuff from a professional who knows 100% what they're talking about. Yeah, you could definitely get a coach who will be able to take that into account. You probably won't be able to get a coach who specializes in that, although you know, you never know, there might be some out there, but I personally don't know any. I would say you probably just need a good coach who will have other athletes with health issues that you need to take into consideration. Yeah, I mean, your trip sounds amazing. I would not focus too much on trying to overthink what you should do. I would focus on just doing what you can, when you can, if you can. There'll be, as long as you are staying active during that time, you know, getting out, walking, trying to be as active as possible. When you come back, you will have time to build up the consistency of load and training to be ready for something like Dartmoor in a day. And absolutely for the lap, which, you know, you've got until May, you've got plenty of time to get some really good, consistent training in. The problem with getting a training plan off the shelf is that, just like Gary's alluded to, like it very rarely goes to plan. So I would say in the vast majority of training plans, like I've never had an athlete that's gone through the training plan 100%. It just doesn't happen. You know, life gets in the way. You might get a niggle. You know, just stuff happens. It just doesn't really work. So should you get an off-the-shelf training plan? Well, yeah, you 100% can. And 9 times out of 10, they're actually really good. A lot of them now are really, really good. But you need to be able to make adaptations yourself to that. So you need to be able to understand that you can't just push on regardless of the training plan, even though it says if you're not ready to, or you're not fit enough, or you have an incident or life changes. You need to be able to accept that training plan isn't exactly dialed into you. It will be dialed into the general population or a general group of people. It won't be dialed into you and your requirements. The difference with a training plan off the shelf and a coach is that, for example, your coach might make a day, depending on what's going on in your life at that time, your coach might be making changes almost on a daily basis to what's going on in your life. So that's pretty important in terms of your progress and making sure your consistency and your load is appropriate to where you are at that stage right now. So that's super important. If you have the resources, I'd 100% get a coach, just because of the fact that it will streamline you getting into the best position possible for the lap. What normally happens as well with off-the-shelf training plans is people get it wrong, they get an injury, they push too hard, and I'll often have people who have used off-the-shelf training plans and then come to me for coaching because they've had an injury as a result of following a training plan. And that's not to say they don't work. They absolutely do work, and there's some great ones out there, but it's whether or not you're going to follow it and whether or not it's right for you. Those are the two big issues. So I would say with the taking your autoimmune disease into consideration, I would say definitely get a coach if you can. It will be worth your time and streamline everything for you going forward, and take a lot of your mind as well, because you don't have to worry about it. That's the coach's job, right? To worry about it, to think about the sessions. Yeah, you know, you can just chill out, do the sessions, except for the hard ones, because there's no chilling out on the hard ones, and get in the best shape possible for the lap.
I'm in a classic off-the-shelf training plan, and the amount of second guessing I do is just off the chart, my goodness. So yeah, coach would remove all that. And also, again, I've never been coached, but I've observed different coaching groups, and look at your coaches, potential coaches, wisely, because some coaches might have like a real high performance philosophy and they might want you to fit with their model, and that might not be for you, while you might have another coach which has a more holistic approach and has more life experience. And so yeah, there's lots of different approaches out there, but yeah, 100% just remove that second guessing.
And if you do look to get a coach, make sure you ask them a lot of questions. Ask them lots and lots and lots of questions. Find out as much as you can as possible. Don't just go off, their Instagram or that they look like a good egg. Roll them.
Well, best of luck, Sam. That's 2 listeners that are doing the lap. It looks apart from that 6 o'clock start, the lap looks absolutely sensational. Best of luck, Sam.
Good luck.